In Unit 5, Topic 1, we are studying all of the things that relate to circles, including the inside angles, the outside angles, and the parts of the circle other than the center. So the first thing we're going to do is you should have printed out this vocabulary sheet and you keep it throughout the unit. Each time we're going to add to it. Today we're going to define what a lot of them are, and if there is a rule for this week, then I will add that in. The first thing we know is called a chord. And a chord, you'll notice, is a line segment that connects 2 points in the circle. And circle. There's not really a rule. You might want to call it, for example, chord AB. A chord may go through the center, and it may not. The one that goes through the center is a special chord called the diameter. A secant, you'll notice it's not a segment, but a line. It is a line that intersects a circle at 2 points. There's not really a rule for this, and we might call that secant AB. The next one is tangent. Tangent is a line or a segment. It's a line or a segment that intersects a circle at only 1 point. And I'm going to add something that I want to show. A tangent is always perpendicular to the radius. So I'm going to call this AB, and I'm going to call this CD. CD will always be perpendicular to the tangent line. Okay, let's look at the next part, a central angle. All right, I flipped it over, a central angle. This is one of the ones we're working on this week, a central angle. It's an angle whose vertex is on the center. Okay, and there's going to be a rule for this. The rule is the central angle will always be equal to the intersecting arc. So for example, if this is my central angle and it is called CAD, okay? CAD is always going to be congruent to arc CD. So those are equal. Okay, an inscribed angle, and these are the two we're looking at mostly this week. An inscribed angle is an angle formed by two intersecting chords, okay, whose vertex is on the circle. Okay, so it's on the circle. So for example, it could be there, it could be there. Now, what's interesting about this, and we're going to learn this later in the week, the rule is this. So again, here, the rule was the angle equals the measure of the arc. Here, the angle is equal to 1/2 the measure of the arc. So for example, if this is 50, this would be 25. Okay. So we're going to define a circumscribed angle. You can think about it. Circle, it goes around the circle, but we're going to come back and do the rule later. This is an angle formed by two tangents whose vertex is outside the circle. And we're going to leave this blank for until next week. Okay, and finally, the next page, the minor arc. It's an arc on the circle, so it's that is less than an arc less than 180 degrees. It's named with two letters. So for example, I would call it arc AB. Notice there's the curve over it. A major arc. This is an arc that is more. That is more than 180 degrees. Okay? It is named with three letters that go in order. So for example, the one over on the left would be arc BDA or ADB. And finally, an intercepted arc. Okay, this is an arc that is formed when two segments, lines, or rays intersect. So for example, you have AB and DE, and we're going to come back to this in next week as well.